Hello everybody and welcome. I'm your host Captain Awesomeness, and today's video is not about karting. It's not about going to different places. It's not about fun. It's not about something good. I actually am doing this video because I think it's time for me to try yet again to let go of things from my past. Despite failing many times, this is just another attempt for me to do so. So the thing is that this video is happening as a result of a conversation I've had with some of my old schoolmates that I had when I was living in Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates. I spent a good portion of my life there from 1981 to 1999. So, not exactly a short amount of time, 18 years, the most formative years of my life. And the thing is that I don't know how the experience has been for many others like me, or even my own family, like I'm talking about my siblings. But for me, the darkest moment of my life, outside of what I did as a soldier, and what I experienced as a soldier, was the entirety of my life as a child and as an adolescent and as an almost adult person living in the United Arab Emirates. I'm not talking about the system there and the racism there and all that other stuff that a lot of people for some reason don't want to talk about or admit to. But I'm going to talk about the school that I was in specifically, and what I went through as well as my classmates went through. I'm not going to go into specifics, but I definitely do want to talk about the impacts I've had to endure, as well as my friends, classmates, my brothers in a way, and sisters as well, had to endure while being at this school. So the name of the school is Islamia English School. It's still a school that exists in Abu Dhabi. I do not know how it's run now, but at least in the 1980s and 1990s, it was a horrible school. It was a horrible school not because of education, because to be honest with you, a lot of us came out with excellent grades. I wasn't one of them, but we did. It was a great school when it came to academic performance. But it wasn't good because of the kinds of things that happened in that school with the administrative folks and the leadership, if you want to call them, the principal and so on, in full knowledge of what would transpire in that school. And without getting into specifics, what I really want to pay attention to is what it kind of was and what it did to a lot of us. And really in specific, what it did to me, because I cannot really speak for anyone else. So Islamic English School was created as a school with the idea to create an English medium school where students that in the majority who belong to the Indian subcontinent, as it's called, or Pakistan Indian subcontinent, as well as Bangladesh, and even some small examples of people who came from Nepal and Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. Besides them, there were a few Arabian kids there as well, mostly from, Lebanon, I believe. There were some Palestinians. There were a couple of guys from Somalia. I remember one guy from Ethiopia that turned into Eritrea. I don't know how to pronounce that name. So it was a good conglomerate of people from different backgrounds, but the majority of them belonged to the so-called Indian subcontinent. And not only was the idea to create an English medium school, but one that instilled Islamic values upon the students at all times. So it was almost like a parochial school. It was a private school, and in my mind, probably one of the most horrible places that I could ever imagine, where I would never want to send myself again through it, nor the future generations after me. What I had a problem with this place was two things. First and foremost, religion was forced onto people to the point where corporal punishment was encouraged. Corporal punishment was the means to achieve that end, instead of creating the atmosphere that I've seen here in the United States and in many other parts of the world, where even if you do have a parochial school, yes, there is a bit of a stern approach, but it doesn't always rely on beating the shit out of kids. Yes, once upon a time schools were like that here, but the way I see them here right now, and even 20 years ago, or even longer than that, when I was a young man, yeah, it just, you cannot compare it. I mean, things were so bad. One of my classmates mentioned how they were beaten so badly that they couldn't walk. And the same thing happened to me in some ways. I remember there was a teacher who hit me so hard with a ruler that had like a tip on the one side. You know those rulers that, I don't remember what they're called, but they were rulers that had this razor edge on the one side. He got so mad at me one time because he couldn't handle me as a kid that he decided to hit me in the face with it. I still have a mark. I don't recall which side of my eye it's on. I think it's the right side. He barely missed getting into my eye, but he gave me a pretty good cut going into basically, you know, the out of this whole chair area. I don't have the specific words, but yeah, the mark is still there, and the mark is there from 27 years ago. So it's not something that, you know, you forget. And there were many other examples like that. I only saw an atmosphere where questioning anything by any student who is trying to understand tenets of religion or concepts of different, you know, topics or subjects that we were taught, math, science, whatever. Instead of taking the time to explain that to us, these teachers, for some reason, thought that it was a form of disobedience and thought it was okay to beat kids in front of other kids so bad and so horribly that not only did they leave bruises, these kids would have to find a way to hide it from their own parents. And then on top of that, you know, because of this whole academic pursuit that the school had, they also created a culture where if you were not a student who belonged in that, I don't know, 97th percentile or above, teachers in front of kids would say things to me. I remember things like, "You'll never make it in life. You'll be a failure." And you know, it's troubling to me because I remember all that toxicity, and I lived with it all the way up to this point, and I still do. And I've remembered every moment that I've lived so far when I've been in a difficult moment where I have conversations with myself. And in those conversations, whenever I'm in a difficult situation, I actually keep telling myself, "You'll never make it in life. You'll never do anything. You'll never make anything out of yourself. You're a fucking failure." And it's all gone back to those days when these very individuals, men or women, who wore these robes that gave them some sense of authority over us to do and say things to us that still hurt a lot of us to this day. I know it hurts me. It hurts me to the point where my anger is so severe, my frustrations with how I want to express what I feel is so high that there's no way I can ever find that would give me the ability to forgive these people. I'm not naming any of them specifically because there are too many situations, too many people. But the thing is, yeah, I cannot forgive them. Not one of you fucking teachers. And I say fucking teachers because all of you are fucking pieces of shit to this day. I'm using severe language because you all never had the ability to find within yourself some way to temper your anger, and not to mention the way you all encouraged each other to do exactly the same to us that one of you would do to us, that I will never be able to forgive you. As a matter of fact, I hope that you rot in hell in this world and in the hereafter if there is one. There is no forgiveness for you. I cannot forgive you. Maybe others can. Maybe others might be able to get past all of what you did. But I've never been able to hold any one of you accountable as an adult for what you did to us. And I never will. And this video I'm doing, I don't even know if it'll help me get past all of this, find some kind of closure. And I hope this video makes it to all of you who called yourselves honorable teachers. And it's only those of you who actually physically did something to us, said something to us, to try to destroy us from the inside out. You never tried to develop us. All you wanted was to make sure that the target that you had at hand of making sure that we hit a certain percentage point in our tests was achieved. You didn't know how to develop any one of us who couldn't get to that point. You didn't know how to identify, hey, you know what, maybe they're not good at math. What if I develop this student for something else, or encourage the parents to, give the student that help that they may need so that they can excel in some other options of life except for academia. It's not for everyone. Back then, and still to this day, that's another cultural issue, and that's beside the point with us who belong to the subcontinent, that outside of academic grades, everything else is unacceptable. You gotta get the grades, you gotta get in the top college, you gotta make it here, and all that other bullshit that's associated with it. For me, I have a lot of regrets with that, resentments, all of that. But that's the thing that has still killed me, and it's still killing me right now. Like, I want to punch a fucking wall, and I hope I can put a picture of each one of them and punch the pictures, not the people, but just pictures of them. I would never want to hurt anybody in person. But I do hope still that there's a day that comes where I can see them face to face and say exactly these very things and even more pointed comments to them. It'll never happen, I'm sure of it, and this anger will never end. The only thing I ever learned in that time frame was what not to be like. But it also did not take away these sentiments from me either, because I will never allow somebody to do what these people did to me ever again. There's this other whole thing about, bullies in school and all that other stuff. But the thing is, I can't blame any of my classmates for it. Some of them were aggressive. Some of them were pretty laid back. Every person has his or her personality. But the thing is, those bullies were actually encouraged by these teachers to carry out some of the misdeeds that they were performing. So I can't really blame those bullies, because they were kids. They weren't given the discipline. They were encouraged to continue doing the things they were. As a matter of fact, because some of those bullies, who we now call as toxic personalities, whatever, excelled well in grades, the teachers were more than happy to look the other way because it made them look good. So that's exactly what happened. I cannot blame these particular folks who are adults now, unless they're still bullying people as an adult. Then I'll call their asses out. But really, they were enabled to do the things that they did. So it comes full circle back to the people that I actually truly hate. I have no dislike or disappointment. No, I hate each one of these teachers. I don't want to mention them all again, just no. Even the administrative staff was involved in it. The principal, the last one that I remember was this short-ass piece of shit. And he said something to me. There was a class of 3 of us, and I'll leave this at this point, what I have to say. And I was kind of like the rebel at this point. It was the last year of school, high school, whatever you want to call it. And I was just a rebel. I had given up. I had had already a couple of fist fights with a couple of teachers at this point, but never got in trouble because these teachers knew that if I opened up my mouth, they'd be in a bigger bag of shit than me. In any case, this principal one day came to a class of 3, just me, my 2 other classmates, and he said 66% of this class will make it somewhere in life. And I knew exactly what he was trying to say, because the way he said it and then looked at me, I knew he was trying to say that I was a piece of shit. And I'll never forget that at that point in time I said, sir, the 33% of this class doesn't give a damn about what you have to say, because soon enough they'll be gone, and gone to a place where they've been wanting to go. And my dream was to come to America. My dream was to come to live a life, a very different life. And I got to live it. And I succeeded in many of the things I did. I served this country. I fought for it in war. And I'm proud of my accomplishments. Despite all the stuff that happens with war, I'm still pretty proud of that. Not one day goes by where I don't get up with my head up high thinking about how awesome of that opportunity was for me. But I don't have that kind of feeling at all about my time as a kid, especially in this goddamn school, which I hope gets shut down one day. And I hope, somewhere or the other, I can find a way to avenge what these teachers did to me by giving them in words how I feel about them. Now, I know some of them have passed away, but so what? I'll find their kids and tell them how horrible their parents were. They need to know this. You know, a friend in our chat group said something about, you know, you need to get past this or something of that sort. I don't remember exactly what. He said, what good is it going to do? My answer to that was, why should I have to pay the price for the rest of my life for things that these men and women did to us? I think it's only fair for them to get a taste of exactly the kind of medicine that they served us. Only thing being, of course, I don't believe in acting out my frustrations physically, but letting them know in person exactly what kind of human beings they were. You know, then the other thing is, in our conversations, we started to have some disagreements over exactly which teacher was bad and which was good. But, you know, that's beside the point. The point is still the fact, again, it comes back to the same thing. This was a horrible school. Maybe it still is. I don't know. But I will never forgive any of these people. Again, just never happening. But I really do hope that if I don't get to see them, that they get to rot in hell. I just really hope nothing but the most horrible things for you because of what you did to me, what you did to my classmates, what you did to my siblings. You know, just never gonna happen. So fuck you. Fuck all of you. That is all I got.